Have you ever noticed that reality responds differently when you stop chasing it? There are days when you barely force anything. Yet doors open, messages arrive, timing aligns, and people seem to meet you with a strange willingness. Then there are other days when you do everything right. You affirm, visualize, plan, push, explain, try, pray, and still the world feels like a locked gate. It is not because reality hates you. It is because reality is not obeying your words. It is obeying your frequency. This message found you because something inside you is tired of begging the outside world to change while your inner field remains divided. You have felt it, haven't you? The moment you stopped needing approval, people suddenly noticed you. The moment you stopped chasing an answer, the answer came toward you. The moment you became calm about what once terrified you, the situation lost its power over you. These were not coincidences. These were glimpses of a deeper law. The field reorganizes around the signal you consistently emit. Most people think manifestation is about desire. They believe if they want something badly enough, think about it intensely enough, or repeat the right words enough, reality will eventually surrender. But desire without coherence becomes noise. Wanting love while broadcasting fear creates distortion. Wanting abundance while embodying scarcity creates interference. Wanting a new timeline while still identifying as the wounded old self creates a broken command. Reality does not answer the loudest wish. It answers the clearest transmission, and that is the hidden key. A strong frequency is not intensity. It is not obsession. It is not emotional force. It is not repeating affirmations while your nervous system silently says the opposite. A strong frequency is coherence. It is when your thoughts, emotions, body, choices, posture, speech, and identity begin broadcasting one unified message: this is who I am now. In that state, you stop pleading with reality. You become so energetically consistent that reality has to rearrange itself around the command of your being. If you are here, you are ready to understand this power without misusing it. This is not about controlling people. This is not about forcing the universe to serve your ego. This is about becoming so aligned with your highest truth that the old world can no longer instruct your field. In this transmission, you will see where your frequency has been split, where your power has been leaking, and how to return your energy to center until your presence becomes undeniable. Because you did not come here to chase reality. You came here to become the signal reality follows. But before reality can obey your frequency, you must first see where your signal has been broken, and once you see the fracture, the repair begins. Not later. Not after proof. Not when life becomes easier. But in this exact moment, as your awareness returns to the center of your own field. From here, everything can begin to obey differently now. Most people are not powerless. Their signal is just split. They think reality is ignoring them. But reality is actually responding with perfect accuracy to the mixed frequency they are sending. One part of them says, I am ready. Another part says, I am afraid. One part says, I deserve more. Another part keeps expecting disappointment. One part reaches for a new timeline. Another part keeps wearing the identity of the old self. And when the field receives contradiction, it cannot reorganize cleanly. It reflects the fracture. This is what creates a broken frequency. You may speak words of abundance while your nervous system is bracing for loss. You may say you are available for love, while your heart is armored against being truly seen. You may declare that your life is changing while secretly checking the old reality for permission to believe it. The universe is not confused by what you say. It reads what you embody. It listens to the total broadcast, not the sentence you repeat when you are trying to convince yourself. Imagine a cracked radio tower standing in the middle of a wide-open field. It still transmits, the light is still blinking, the structure is still there, but the signal is unstable. Sometimes it reaches far, sometimes it cuts out, sometimes it sends static instead of music. That is what happens when desire is strong but the inner field is not unified. Your soul may be broadcasting one song, but your fear, habits, memories, and reactions are interrupting it with noise. This is why some people feel like they are manifesting in circles. They get close, then pull back. They receive a glimpse, then doubt it. They attract the opportunity, then shrink in front of it. They call in love, then test it until it leaves. They ask for expansion, then panic when life begins, removing the smaller rooms they used to hide inside. It is not because the reality they want is unavailable. It is because their frequency is still negotiating with the identity that cannot hold it. And this is not your fault. You were trained to become divided. You were taught to want more, but expect less. You were taught to dream quietly, speak carefully, protect yourself constantly, and look outside for proof before trusting what is alive inside you. Over time, this creates inner fragmentation. Your words move in one direction, your body in another. Your vision looks forward, but your emotional pattern keeps scanning the past. Then you wonder why reality feels delayed, inconsistent, or resistant. But here is the awakening. The delay is not rejection. The resistance is not punishment. The inconsistency is not proof that you are unworthy. It is feedback. Reality is showing you where your signal is not yet whole. Every place where life feels blocked is asking, are you truly emitting the frequency of the version you claim to be? Or are you still sending secret loyalty to the old story? A broken frequency becomes strong the moment you stop pretending the fracture is not there. You do not heal it by forcing positivity. You heal it by becoming honest. Where am I saying yes while embodying no? Where am I asking for freedom while choosing familiar limitation? Where am I claiming power while waiting to be chosen? These questions do not weaken you. They collect your scattered energy. Reality does not obey the loudest desire. It obeys the clearest signal. And once your signal becomes clear, the field has no choice but to begin answering differently. Reality does not listen to the emotion you perform for one moment. It listens to the signal you return to again and again. This is why one powerful meditation, one emotional visualization, one night of deep certainty can feel electric. Yet the outer world still seems unchanged the next day. For a brief moment, your field opened. You touched the frequency of the reality you desire. But then the old signal returned. The old expectation, the old self-image, the old emotional climate that says, things never really change for me. This repeated inner climate is your dominant signal. It is the frequency reality recognizes as your baseline. Not what you say you want, but what you expect when no one is watching. Not what you affirm for 10 minutes, but what your body believes for the rest of the day. Not the identity you post, explain, or imagine, but the identity you unconsciously return to when life gets quiet, uncertain, or challenging. That is the signal the field hears most clearly. You may desire abundance, but if your dominant signal is fear of loss, reality keeps arranging situations that reflect financial pressure. You may desire love, but if your dominant signal is emotional defense, reality keeps sending connections that cannot fully reach you. You may desire visibility, but if your dominant signal is fear of being judged, reality keeps placing you at the edge of expression, close enough to feel the calling, but not stable enough to step fully into it. This is not punishment, this is precision. The quantum field does not respond to temporary emotional intensity the way most people think. Intensity can open a door, but consistency walks through it. A sudden wave of belief can show you what is possible, but the dominant signal determines what becomes sustainable. Reality is not fooled by spiritual performance. It does not obey the moment you pretend to be powerful. It obeys the pattern you embody when nothing external has confirmed your power yet. This is the observer effect in your daily life. You are always observing reality from a state. When you observe your future from lack, you collapse possibilities that match lack. When you observe relationships from fear, you collapse evidence that fear is justified. When you observe opportunity from unworthiness, you collapse delays, confusion, and almosts. But when you observe from coherence, even before proof arrives, you begin collapsing a different field of options. The same world starts behaving differently because you are no longer meeting it as the same observer. This is why your inner baseline matters more than your occasional breakthrough. A person who feels confident once is not the same as a person who has become confidence. A person who imagines abundance once is not the same as a person whose body no longer worships scarcity. A person who desires a new life is not the same as a person who quietly refuses to identify with the old one. Reality knows the difference. So ask yourself with honesty, what signal do I return to most often? Do I return to trust or suspicion? Expansion or contraction? Worthiness or proving? Calm authority or desperate checking? The answer is not here to shame you. It is here to reveal the exact place where your field is asking to be stabilized. Because once your dominant signal changes, reality cannot keep responding to the old command. But there is one reason your frequency may still feel weak, even when your intention is pure. And this is where most people unknowingly leak their power. Their intention is pure, their desire is real, their soul is ready. But their frequency keeps bleeding through small, unconscious habits that tell reality. I am not fully standing in my command yet. These leaks may look ordinary from the outside. But in the quantum field, they scatter your signal. They weaken your transmission. They make your energy available to timelines you no longer want to feed. The first leak is over-explaining. Every time you explain yourself from fear, not clarity, you send a signal that says, I do not trust my own authority. There is a difference between communication and energetic begging. Clear communication comes from center. It speaks simply, then rests. Over-explaining comes from the old wound that believes it must be understood before it is allowed to exist. When you keep trying to convince people of your truth, your field begins to broadcast uncertainty. Reality responds by sending more situations where you feel forced to prove yourself. The second leak is emotional chasing. Chasing a person, an answer, an outcome, money, validation, or a specific sign pulls your energy out of your center and places it in the hands of what you are chasing. The moment you chase, your frequency says, my power is over there, my peace is over there, my reality depends on something outside me, moving first. And reality obeys that command by keeping the thing just far enough away to match the signal of pursuit. What you chase often retreats, not because you are unworthy, but because your energy is no longer seated in the identity that receives. The third leak is identity contradiction. You cannot emit the frequency of a new timeline while secretly worshiping the language of the old one. Every time you say, things never work for me, I always struggle, I never get chosen, I am too late, I am behind, you are not describing reality. You are commanding it. Your words become invisible instructions. But even deeper than the words is the identity behind them. If you keep naming yourself as the one who is overlooked, delayed, rejected, or unsupported, reality will keep arranging evidence to obey that name. The fourth leak is scattered attention. Your attention is one of the most powerful forces in your field. But most people spend it like loose coins dropped across the floor. A little attention in the past, a little in someone else's opinion, a little in comparison, a little in checking, scrolling, doubting, replaying, predicting, controlling. By the end of the day, their signal is not a beam, it is fog, and fog cannot command the field. A scattered observer collapses scattered results. This is why you may feel exhausted even when you have not physically done much. Your energy has been traveling everywhere except your own center. Every explanation, every chase, every old identity statement, every loop of scattered attention becomes a hole in the container of your power. The universe is not withholding from you. Your field is simply too dispersed to transmit one undeniable command. But the moment you notice the leaks, you begin calling your energy back. You stop explaining to those committed to misunderstanding. You stop chasing what should recognize you naturally. You stop repeating names that belong to the old self. You stop feeding every distraction with your sacred attention. And as your energy returns, your frequency thickens. It becomes stronger, cleaner, harder to interrupt. This is the beginning of command. Not control, not force. Command, the quiet authority of a field that is no longer leaking itself into fear, performance, or pursuit. But there is one frequency reality cannot ignore. But there is one frequency reality cannot ignore. It is not the frequency of wanting. It is not the frequency of needing. It is not the frequency of hoping so intensely that your nervous system begins to shake with desperation. Reality does not obey the part of you that begs. It obeys the part of you that has become certain. Not loud certainty. Not arrogant certainty. Not the kind that needs to announce itself every few minutes so it does not collapse. I am talking about embodied certainty. The quiet command that rises when your entire being stops negotiating with the old timeline. Embodied certainty is different from belief. Belief can still argue with doubt. Belief can still look for proof. Belief can still panic when the outside world takes too long to reflect it. But embodied certainty does not keep checking the mirror every second to see if it exists. It moves like the reality is already responding. It speaks like the field has already heard. It chooses like the new identity is no longer an idea but a home. This is the frequency that makes reality obey. The state where your body, thoughts, emotions, actions, boundaries, and attention all transmit one message without contradiction. This is why some people seem magnetic without trying. They are not louder than everyone else. They are not always the most talented, the most beautiful, the most educated, or the most visible. But there is something about their field that does not scatter. When they enter a room, they are not asking the room to define them. They are not leaking energy into approval, comparison, or fear. Their presence has weight. Their silence has structure. Their choices carry a command. Reality begins organizing around them because they are no longer broadcasting inner debate. Think of a planet with gravity. A planet does not chase the objects around it. It does not beg smaller bodies to orbit. It simply holds enough mass, enough center, enough gravitational authority that things begin arranging themselves around its field. This is what coherence does inside you. When your frequency becomes strong enough, you stop chasing opportunities with the energy of lack. Opportunities begin recognizing your orbit. You stop chasing people who cannot meet you. The right ones feel your clarity and move closer, while the wrong ones naturally drift away. You stop forcing timing, because your field starts aligning with openings that match who you have become. This is not fantasy. You have already experienced pieces of this. The moment you truly stopped caring whether someone approved of you, they suddenly felt your power. The moment you stopped begging for an answer, clarity arrived. The moment you accepted that you would be whole either way, the situation lost its ability to control you. Why? Because your frequency changed from dependency to authority. Reality could no longer use the old pressure points to pull you into the old response. But understand this clearly: coherence cannot be faked. You cannot manipulate the field by pretending not to care while secretly obsessing. You cannot say, "I am abundant," while gripping every possibility with scarcity. You cannot claim, "I am chosen," while scanning every room for evidence that you are not. The field reads beneath performance. It hears the hidden tremor. It feels the contradiction. This is not to shame you. It is to free you from spiritual performance. The goal is not to look powerful. The goal is to become undivided. To become undivided, you must stop making secret agreements with the old self. You must stop saying yes to the new life while keeping a backup identity built from fear. You must stop carrying the story that reality is hard for you. People leave you. Money avoids you. Timing betrays you. And miracles happen to others. Every one of those stories is a frequency command. Every one of them teaches reality how to treat you. And the moment you withdraw your belief from them, the old system begins losing authority. This is the shock point. Reality is not resisting you. It is obeying the version of you that you most consistently embody. If you embody the one who waits to be chosen, reality gives you waiting. If you embody the one who must prove their worth, reality gives you tests. If you embody the one who expects delay, reality gives you almost But if you embody the one who knows, quietly and completely, that their field is already aligned with the timeline they are walking into, reality begins bending in that direction. So the declaration is simple. I do not beg reality. I become the frequency reality must answer. I do not chase what is aligned with me. I become coherent enough to recognize it and receive it. I do not perform power. I return to the center where power already lives. I do not split myself between fear and truth. I choose one signal. I choose one identity. I choose the version of me that reality can no longer ignore. Now the question becomes, how do you strengthen this frequency without forcing reality? Now the question becomes, how do you strengthen this frequency without forcing reality? Because the old self will hear everything you just received and immediately try to turn it into another technique, another performance, another way to control the outside world. It will say, if I stand a certain way, speak a certain way, pretend I do not care, maybe reality will obey me faster. But that is not frequency. That is strategy wearing spiritual language. True frequency is not acted, it is embodied. The first way to strengthen your frequency is to stop negotiating with the old identity. The old identity will not disappear politely. It will speak when you are tired. It will whisper when nothing has changed yet. It will remind you of past failures, old rejection, delayed answers, and every moment when you tried before and felt disappointed. But you do not have to obey every voice that rises inside you. You can hear the old story without re-entering it. You can say, I recognize this pattern, but I no longer let it name me. This is how your signal becomes stronger, not by pretending doubt never appears, but by refusing to let doubt become your identity. The version of you that reality obeys is not the version that never feels fear. It is the version that no longer makes fear the leader of the field. When the old self says, maybe nothing will work, you do not argue for hours. You return to center. You choose the next aligned movement. You let action become the proof of your new frequency. The second way is to move as the version reality already recognizes. Stop asking, how do I get it? That question often carries distance. It assumes the reality you desire is far away and you are separate from it. Ask instead, how would I move if this timeline already knew my name? How would I speak? How would I walk into the room? What would I stop tolerating? What would I stop chasing? What would I do today if I truly believed the field was already responding? This does not mean you become careless or passive. It means your actions begin carrying identity instead of desperation. You answer messages from calm authority. You make decisions from self-respect. You stop explaining your worth to people who benefit from misunderstanding it. You stop shrinking in front of opportunities you once prayed for. You become consistent in the small places. Because reality studies your small choices before it reorganizes the larger ones. The third way is to reduce signal noise. Your frequency cannot become strong while your attention is constantly being pulled into drama, comparison, checking, overconsumption, and emotional reaction. Noise weakens command. Every time you feed a distraction that lowers your field, you scatter the very power you are trying to build. This does not mean you must become perfect, isolated, or rigid. It means you become protective of your attention. You begin asking, does this strengthen my signal or split it? The fourth way is to speak less and transmit more. Weak frequency tries to convince. Strong frequency demonstrates there is a time to speak, but there is also a time to let your presence, boundaries, choices, and consistency speak louder than explanation. The more coherent you become, the less you need to announce your transformation. People feel it. Rooms feel it. Opportunities feel it. Reality feels it. So strengthen your frequency quietly. Choose one identity. Withdraw energy from the old story. Move as the version who is already aligned. Remove noise. Let your actions carry the command. And remember, reality does not need you to force it. It needs you to stop contradicting the signal you came here to emit. Now bring this into your body, not as a concept, not as another idea you understand but never live. Your frequency becomes strong when it becomes physical. When your breath, posture, attention, and action all agree with the identity you are choosing. This is why a ritual matters. Not because the ritual has power over you, but because it gives your scattered energy a doorway back into command. For the next 3 minutes, stop reaching outward. Stop checking reality for proof. Stop asking whether the field has changed yet. Place one hand on your chest and let your attention return from every person, outcome, fear, memory, and possibility where you left pieces of yourself. Breathe slowly. Feel the weight of your palm. Feel the center of your body. Then say inwardly, "My energy returns to me now." Do not rush those words. Let them travel through your nervous system. My energy returns from the people I chased. My energy returns from the outcomes I tried to force. My energy returns from the old story that said I had to prove, beg, wait, or shrink. My energy returns from every timeline that required me to forget who I am. As you breathe, imagine every scattered part of your field gathering back into one clear point of light in your chest. Now ask the second question, what am I broadcasting right now? Be honest, not to judge yourself, but to become conscious. Am I broadcasting fear? Am I broadcasting lack? Am I broadcasting pressure? Am I broadcasting resentment, urgency, doubt, or the need to be chosen? Or am I broadcasting trust, certainty, calm authority, love, and coherence? Whatever you find, do not fight it. The moment you see the signal clearly, it begins to change. This is where most people make the mistake of rejecting themselves. They feel fear and shame themselves for not being powerful enough. They feel scarcity and pretend it is not there. But coherence does not come from denial. It comes from integration. If fear is present, place it inside your awareness and say, "I see you, but you do not command this field." If lack is present, racy, "I hear you, but you do not name my reality." If urgency is present, or say, "You may move through me, but you will not choose for me." Now command the new frequency. Speak slowly. Either out loud or inside yourself, I emit coherence. I emit certainty. I emit the frequency of the reality that already recognizes me. I do not chase. I do not beg. I do not split my signal between fear and truth. I return to the identity that reality must answer. Feel what changes when you say this from your center. Your shoulders may drop. Your breath may deepen. Your face may soften. Your body may become still. That stillness is not emptiness. It is power returning to its throne. It is the moment your field stops leaking into the external world and begins transmitting from within. But the ritual is not complete until you take one aligned action. Frequency must move through behavior. So ask, what is one action that proves my new signal today? Maybe you do not send the message from panic. Maybe you clean your space as a symbol that your field is no longer chaotic. Maybe you write the decision you have been avoiding. Maybe you set one boundary. Maybe you take one step toward the opportunity your old self kept postponing. Maybe you rest without guilt because the version you are becoming no longer worships exhaustion. Choose one action. Make it simple. Make it clear. Make it real. The field does not need drama. It needs evidence that your identity has shifted. And when your command, breath, body, and action align, your frequency becomes more than a desire. It becomes a transmission. And when this transmission stabilizes, it stops being only personal. It begins affecting everyone who enters your field. When your frequency stabilizes, it stops being only personal. It becomes a transmission. People may not understand why they feel different around you, but they will feel it. Some will become calmer in your presence. Some will become more honest without planning to. Some will feel uncomfortable because your coherence mirrors the places where they are still divided. This is not something you need to announce. A strong frequency does not perform. It reveals you have met people like this before. They walk into a room and the atmosphere changes, not because they dominate it, but because they are not asking the room for permission to exist. Their field is seated. Their words are simple. Their boundaries are clean. Their attention is not leaking into approval, and without trying, they remind everyone nearby of what it feels like to be centered. That is what you are becoming, but understand this: clearly emitting a strong frequency is not about controlling other people. It is not about bending someone's will, forcing love, demanding outcomes, or using energy as manipulation. That is not coherence. That is fear wearing power's clothing. The frequency that makes reality obey does not violate another soul. It simply becomes so clear that false realities cannot keep organizing your life. When you become coherent, the wrong people may fall away faster. The right opportunities may arrive with less resistance. Conversations may become more direct. Old timelines may stop having access to your emotional reactions. This is reality obeying you. Not by making everyone do what your ego wants, but by reorganizing around the truth your field now carries. And when enough people begin living this way, the collective field changes. Fear stops spreading as quickly. Drama finds fewer places to land. Manipulation loses its audience. People begin sensing what is real sooner. Families, communities, and relationships start receiving a new pattern. One person can stay calm. One person can refuse the old script. One person can transmit coherence instead of collapse. This is morphic resonance. When you embody a frequency, you make that frequency more available to the field around you. Your healing becomes a doorway. Your boundaries become a teaching. Your calm becomes permission. Your certainty becomes evidence that another timeline is possible. So do not underestimate what happens when you stop chasing reality and become the signal. You are not only changing your own life, you are placing a new instruction into the collective field. Every time you choose coherence over chaos, you weaken the old command that says humans must create from fear. Every time you return to your center, you remind reality that another order is available. This is your responsibility now. Not to be perfect. Not to be above anyone. Not to prove your power. Your responsibility is to keep your signal clean. To stop leaking your sacred attention into timelines that cannot hold your truth. To walk into the world as a living transmission of the reality you came here to anchor. When your frequency becomes coherent, your presence becomes the message, and reality begins to listen. So now you understand the law. Reality does not obey scattered words, temporary emotion, or desperate desire. It obeys the frequency you consistently emit. It listens to the identity beneath your affirmations, the signal beneath your choices, the truth beneath your performance. When your field is split, reality reflects the fracture. But when your field becomes coherent, reality begins to reorganize. You are no longer here to chase what is aligned with you. You are here to become so centered, so clear, so undivided, that the old timeline can no longer command your attention. You return your energy from fear. You withdraw it from the old story. You stop begging the mirror to change, and you become the signal that gives the mirror a new instruction. This is your declaration now. I emit a frequency so coherent that reality reorganizes around my truth. I do not chase. I do not beg. I do not split myself between fear and power. I return to the center where my command lives. I become the frequency reality must answer. If this message activated something in your field, type frequency in the comments. Not as a word, but as a declaration that your signal is returning to coherence. Subscribe if you are ready to keep walking this quantum path with us. You did not come here to chase reality. You came here to become the signal reality follows. And from this moment forward, your field is no longer asking permission. It is transmitting truth.